Welcome to UnSUCKcessful. We're your hosts, Jen.
And I'm Brandi, and this is the podcast where we admit out loud
that we suck.
So if life has ever felt like a dumpster fire,
you're in the right place.
Well, let's get into it.
This week on UnSUCKcessful, we're getting real about something so many of us deal with but barely talk about: mental health and medication. Brandi and I are opening up about our very different experiences. Her journey was starting SSRIs and mine with deciding not to. We're talking about the hard questions: emotional numbness, anxiety, depression, dopamine chasing, societal pressure, and what it means to try to keep it all together while your brain and body are doing their own thing. Spoiler alert, mental health isn't linear. So whether you've been medicated, misdiagnosed, overworked, underjoyed, or just plain exhausted, you're going to feel seen in this one. Let's dive in.
Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, Jen.
Good afternoon, Brandi. Here we are in my living room.
Once again. Okay. Today, we're going to talk about SSRIs. And Jen's like, what are those? I'm like, I don't know either.
We don't really know what they are.
This is terrible. So, an SSRI, I have to pull out Google. It's a class of antidepressants that are used to treat depression, anxiety, and other mental health conditions. And it stands for selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. That's what it stands for, Jen. Why we're talking about this subject is because I have been on SSRIs for, 10 months, I think it was, from March until, when are we here? March.
We're March.
It's been a year, so I guess about a year. But I decided to go off them a couple months ago. Yes, 2 months ago. And so I want to talk about that, my journey. I'm ready to talk about it. That hasn't been easy. Now it's easy. I feel like now it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, which is always interesting because it's like when you're in the mud and you're in the shit, it's not easy to talk about. It's like coming out of it. For me anyway. I really struggle with like having those discussions about it when you're in it.
Yeah.
It's like when you can come out of it, I feel a little bit feel better about talking about it. Anywho, that's where I'm
at. There's a lot of reasons why I think this is important too, and why we think this is important. And we recently posted on Instagram about how, like, what are some topics that you think we should talk about? And two really big ones were mental health and
menopause
and
perimenopause, mental health, all these things.
And one of those conversations that we had led into someone who went on an SSRI and said how terrible of an experience it was, and was like really just completely, I felt deflated on trying to get any types of answers or to figure it out of what was going on with her. And I think it all goes together too.
This is the thing. It does all go together. And that's what we're going to talk about, I think, today. And that's exactly where it spurred me as well is, I posted about it a little bit as well on Instagram. And then somebody that I know responded back and said, welcome to the club. I have a lot of feelings around that because, I feel the same way. And having said that, when I posted about it, it's like now I'm making the decision to come off of it. So now I'm like out of the club. But
yes,
but we'll talk about this club. I have a lot to say about the club. I do know so many people. Like I already know so many people that are on it. And have been for a long time. They're either, on it all the time for years, or I know a few people that utilize it like a tool when their life becomes too much. And then, they go on it. And I know for myself, like now having been on it, I have a different perspective now. One of the things Jen and I were talking about is shame around it. I've always been one of those people that just was like, well, that's not going to be me.
Yeah.
That's just not going to be me. Like, why do I need this? I can do this on my own. I can figure this out on my own. And so there was a lot of like, I had to just kind of come to terms with it. You asked me a question. What was the question that you asked? You asked me if I had shame.
How did you? Well, let's start I want to start kind of at the beginning of the story.
Let's start at the beginning.
Yeah. But so I just typed in, what are the recent statistics of people on antidepressants on our anti-anxiety medication? Let's go for women in Canada. So, okay, it just popped up. This is an AI overview of Google, okay? This is no specific...
No research-based fast study that we've spent hours trying to decipher.
Right. We're not like publishing a paper on this or nothing. In 2023, the prevalence of antidepressant use among women in Canada is roughly double that of men, with 29.3% of women in the Atlantic provinces alone using antidepressants, it says, and this increase occurred across all age groups except those aged 65 and older. So we are kind of, it says except those groups. Okay,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Probably there's a gender difference.
So here's some more detailed breakdown. Gender differences. Women are significantly more likely to be prescribed antidepressants than men. The prevalence of antidepressant use among women was approximately twice that of men in all provinces. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, some really good facts here that we'll talk more about. It talks about the increase of anxiety and depression and that's interesting, social phobia.
Yeah, social phobia. So the 12-month prevalence of social phobia in women aged 15 to 24 was 4 times higher in 2022 compared to 2002. I think that we all know where that came from. The big C. Mm-hmm. Yes, I can definitely.
Lots of interesting facts that I think we could go into like a nosedive on, just to find out more information, which I am really interested in this, and I'm really interested in where this is going to go.
Why? Like what happened?
Exactly.
Why, what happened in your, to go on it? What happens to women or men? And that's where I think this conversation could go so many different ways, but I know and for me, and it might be long, and I know for me, I had a huge life event, and they say that, right? If you, you're bumping along and you're doing your thing, and then, things happen, right? Mm-hmm. Where we talked about Jen's story too, where like there's like already a prevalence of some burnout happening anyway, and then there's usually a big life event. So in Jen's case, your dad passed away, and
straw that broke the camel's back.
Straw, and there's usually a straw that breaks the camel's back, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, what's interesting is like, because I'm so like, I'm not depressed, I'm not anxious.
I'm not depressed. I'm not anxious.
I am none of these things.
I'm strong.
I am. I'm strong.
You are strong.
Yes. No, but it didn't even cross my mind. So, but I was where I was at. It was interesting in that time. I did have a big life event, that I don't want to get into what that was, but it rocked my complete world. At the same time, my daughter actually was going through some things. She's been diagnosed with ADHD, which more than likely I have. Who doesn't? But it is highly genetic, and join the club. That's something that I've always known about myself. And in recent years, it is what it is. I've set up tools and things for myself. It is what it is. I don't need to be medicated or whatever. But what I was noticing in my daughter is that she was, getting better in like just a lot of areas of her life. And we're working with her psychologist and all of that. And this is at the same time where this big life event happened for me. And what I noticed in my brain is that I was experiencing, like, I couldn't control my ADHD anymore. And I couldn't control, I was just spiraling. I was huge monkey brain, couldn't concentrate, lack of focus, all of these things.
Did you feel like you had ADHD before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh no, I have.
Like when you were younger, like in your 30s and 20s and 30s.
Yeah, I have. I think that ADHD is a spectrum. Obviously, I don't know a ton about it. I know a little bit about it, but I've never been like, it's not something that I'm going to be medicated for. I think there's a lot of things that I have. I have a lot of the things, especially, and I've learned this. I've actually learned this with my daughter. I've learned this by going to this psychiatrist, and having these conversations and asking these questions, and us all sitting in the meeting and my daughter looking at me like, "That's you, Mom." whatever. It is what it is. But here's the thing, as they will always say, it's your superpower as well. Like they'll say, creative people, all of that kind of stuff, right? That's fine. And I just found, and that again, the systems, everything that I had like learned and to control, nothing was working anymore. I just felt so exhausted, burnt out. I couldn't control it. And so what I did was I was like, I don't know what to do anymore. So I'm going to go to my doctor. And I'm going to talk to my doctor about ADHD because I'm like, at that point, I'm like, this is an ADHD thing. I cannot focus.
Yeah. So we're talking like your family doctor, general practitioner.
That's what happened. And I get there and it was a really low place where I was at. And
so what were some of these symptoms? Like what were you feeling at that point?
Huge anxiety.
Yeah.
But
like
again,
where did it feel? Like what does anxiety feel like?
Yeah. For me, it's like in my neck and my chest, like panic attack. Like, and what does that even feel like? I didn't really know. Like I was starting to have panic attacks, but I didn't know what they were. Just like heart palpitations, a lot of that kind of stuff. Just like in my body, more than anything. My brain tends to move on pretty quick.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I like worry. That's not really what I do.
But you were experiencing physical symptoms.
Physical.
And that's where I think that like your body, we've talked about this before, your body feels like it's in survival mode. Your body feels like you're being chased by a bear, but your brain is like, I'm sitting on my couch with a nice warm cup of tea.
Yes. And so that is huge. Like, I had a friend after this big life event that happened to me, was like, Brandi, like you've been in fight or flight for a really long time. She's like, you're fighting. Like, what's going on? Like, how's your nervous system? And I was like, I'm fine. I'm not panicking. Shaking hands. I have to say shaking hands. And I can like, now I can like look back and I just have a different perspective on it, but that's fine. But when I was in it, I just was like, I'm not depressed. I'm not anxious. I mean, I knew like anxiety, but I didn't like the depression piece. I didn't realize, that I had. And then I just felt like I couldn't concentrate was probably the biggest. I had no motivation, no energy, zero. Done.
Can you do you want to talk about, was this life event in your business? Was it in personal?
Business and but then it affects my personal life. Yeah.
And, but stemming from business, which although mine, like my straw, I always say it wasn't a straw that broke the camel's back. Having your parent die when you never thought they would was not a straw by any means, but everything that was going on in the business just like made that was almost the straw. That's the straw. I was already broken because of the other things. So the business stuff. And I think that, as entrepreneurs, period, when you don't have like, it's so different to be an employee than being responsible as an entrepreneur for this thing. Yeah. And I think that's an important thing to draw attention to, that it was business related, that kind of gotcha.
100%.
Yeah. We won't talk about things.
It is 100. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. So so I went to my doctor and I said, I think I have, I have ADHD.
How do I know? Because of TikTok.
She's like, I said, well, I'm going through this process with my daughter and, there's a lot of things that I see that she's, and then I just started to like cry and I was just like, I can't focus. I can't like concentrate, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, okay. She's like, what's going on? And I'm like, well, and she's like, brings out the like depression and the anxiety questions. Yeah. And I'm just basically like signing off on all of them. Right. And I'm like, oh, fuck. So I'm like, yeah.
What were some of those questions? Like,
I don't remember.
You don't remember any of them?
No.
When I was 21, I was diagnosed. I got a clinical depression diagnosis.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, 3 weeks before I was taking off on a plane to go to Australia.
Oh.
Yeah. And it had a lot to do with my boyfriend.
Okay.
Breakups, that kind of thing. All the drama that goes on with that.
Yes.
And my doctor said to me, which I love now, it's like, I'm not going to put you on anything because you're going to be on a beach in Australia in a few weeks. And I have a feeling it's going to go away. Which is interesting.
No, I love that. Honestly.
That didn't make it go away. Keep going.
I'm like, yes,
Ben,
change your environment.
I was just, exactly. So now I'm a world away from my mom and my dad, who I called crying every other day, away from my boyfriend, who we happened to get back together.
You change your environment, but you removed yourself from the support that you needed. Yes.
And was all alone.
Yeah. Those are things.
Thank God they spoke English.
To think about. Yeah.
Changing your environment is not going to change. Changing your environment is not going to change what you need to fix inside. Okay. Yeah. Keep going. So you went to the doctor. She asked you these questions, and you checked every single box for anxiety and depression.
Yes. Okay. So she's like, I think, and she asked me questions about what happened and all of that. And at that time, I had zero. I had lost all hope. Zero. Like, there was just nothing like for the future that I was like, there was nothing there for me. That was probably the biggest one. It's like there was nothing to look forward to.
And the scariest because
that's not who I am.
Yeah.
First of all, I always have something to look forward to. And there was nothing to look forward to. And so that right then and there, I think was a big one. Obviously then, doing therapy as well. And which, I have done in the past, but now obviously this is dealing with the things that are happening to you right now. And so, yeah, I think at that time, I just wanted to feel better at all costs. Something's got to give here, And, so the biggest thing for me was that the business stuff was affecting me, which then affects, like, as a mom and the woman of the house, like, affects everybody else around you. Right. And so I know that it was affecting my husband. That was hard for me to see. We're mirrors, right? Relationships, as a coach once said to me, and it's my favorite analogy, is that, you are the sun and he is the moon. That's like my favorite. And so when you start to see your depressed sun, the lack thereof shining on your little depressed moon. Yeah. It's like, it's interesting how that was, for me, was like a big piece of, okay, I got to get better because he's falling apart here. Like, so.
Isn't that funny though? Like you're like, I'm not getting better for me.
For me, I'm getting better for everybody. Well, everybody else. Exactly. Right. Yeah. Like it's sad. Yeah.
It's so funny too, going back even to when I was like, told Nick I have to close I'm panicking, sitting on the bed, and I'm like, I think I've shut down Tika. And he's like, what? Goes, I think I'm gonna puke. And I didn't want him to say that. I wanted him to be like, hey, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna be, you're gonna do great. And instead he was like, well, fucking suns.
Right?
Fucking moons.
Sometimes those moons don't react the way that you want them to.
They never do.
Yeah. So anyway, I was like, something's got to give. So I went on it. And I know I did do like a ton of research because I was just like, no.
So did your doctor say like you could do this? Was like, this is some things like, okay, was she?
No, she was.
Did you ask for it? Or
no, she suggested it right away. She's like, I think, this, and then coupled with obviously the therapy. And, right now, how she put it was, right now you just don't have serotonin and you need the serotonin. That's what she said.
So she was looking at it chemically.
Yes. She was just like, you just need that. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And again, I just felt so like I'm just like, I don't even want to. You get to a point where you don't even want like to fight for yourself. You know what I mean? So at least there's somebody that's like, I'm gonna get all emotional, but there's somebody that's like offering you a solution. You're gonna take it, right? So yeah, anyway. And again, so many people that I know on it. So it's like, okay, it's fine, it's safe. It's all the things, right? So I started on it, and she said to me, she's like, okay, I'm gonna see you back in 2 weeks. You probably won't feel any differences until about 5 or 6 weeks in. And I was like, oh God. And what was funny was that you feel this like bit of hope that you're like, okay. And then she's like, oh, 5, 6 weeks. And I'm like, oh,
Can I make it?
Can I make it this long? Right.
What were you thinking at that point in time was going to be, if you didn't get help, what was going to happen?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I didn't have a answer to that. I didn't feel, I wouldn't say I was suicidal, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's the one thing. That wasn't like, okay, then I'm just going to end my life. Like that wasn't there. And so I think it would just be carrying on how I was carrying on. That was
with no hope.
With no hope.
You can't see.
Yeah, I couldn't see. Yeah, and hope. A little bit of hope, going, okay, this will get better because things just get better. Like that's the other thing that's so interesting is I'm a self-help junkie.
Absolutely.
And so logically in my brain, and that's what's been so interesting, it's like I was still doing my habits. Right? The discipline. I was still doing discipline because you don't need motivation. If you're disciplined, don't need motivation. That's what they say, right? So I was still being disciplined in like all the things that I was doing. I was consistent with, when waking up, my breakfast, my workouts, my thought process, my gratitude, I was trying all these things, and it became harder and harder.
Every tool out of
and I was pulling all the tools, and it just became harder and harder and harder. And I couldn't do it anymore. So I don't remember where I was going with this. Logically, I was like somewhere else. Like I kept thinking, so the logical brain of took over in that I know logically that eventually this too shall pass. But I just couldn't. Every day was like such a struggle. Such a struggle.
So they say, or I heard something, I can't remember what this is called by any means, but it's how when you're in that survival mode, and I could probably talk about this in another episode, I can't remember, maybe. When you're in survival mode, it's like there's a fog right in front of you, and you can't even see across the street. And that is actually a fight or flight response because you're looking at your immediate present.
Yeah.
And for someone who is a visionary and a very creative visionary like myself, when you get into that stage, when you're panicking, your anxiety's through the roof, the scariest part for me was that I couldn't see. I had nothing. And I've never been that person. I think that's what was really scary. And I thought this too shall pass. And it was 3 months. It was 4 months. It was 6 months. It was 8 months. It was a year. And it still hadn't passed. And then I got scared. After 6 months, when it hadn't passed, that was terrifying.
And when you think about it too, there's like the event, there's the straw that broke the camel's back or whatever, but there is a progression. There is a progression. And then it does get to a point where it's like, boom. Because I say that event happened, but there was so much leading up to it. It was a year prior.
Yeah.
Where I was, my nervous system.
You're already running on fumes.
I was already running on fumes. So and then it just hits, you just hit a wall. So, yeah. And then I remember 2 weeks in, I went and had been 2 weeks in, and I had experienced the effects. And I was feeling so much better. Side effects that I had initially were intense thirst. Super, super thirsty. I didn't experience, that was basically it. That was the only thing that I was experiencing. And then I was feeling like a lot better. I had a bit more clarity at that time. I will say that was one of the most immediate effects. And I remember saying that to my doctor, like, I feel more clear. I have a bit more clarity. I can actually think. Having said that, it kind of, that didn't progress and get better. It almost just kind of stopped, because I would say now being off the medication, that my clarity is like 5,000 times more than being on that medication. So it's like it brought it back a little bit, but it didn't bring it back to who I am and who I am. So, and then my experience being on the medication was, interestingly, over time, I really felt I think for me, it was the anxiety more than the depression control. Cause I really noticed over time, probably about 5 months in, how I had no anxiety, like zero, like absolutely zero. And that was really great. That's awesome.
I can't imagine a world where I don't have anxiety.
It was
at some point.
It was amazing. So I will say, I was like, because other people around me would be like, and I'd be like, I'm not feeling that right now. And that's great. I really love that. And that is really cool, because I did get an opportunity being on this medication to experience that. And it has been 10 years. Well, I don't know. I mean, years and years and years. Like I said in previous episodes, like I didn't even know what anxiety was, but I've been dealing with anxiety my whole life. So like to not experience that's a really interesting and really cool perspective, to like not experience it at all. Having said that, on the flip side is that the numbness of, what's happening and feeling numb, as they say. And even my doctor said, okay, do you think you're too numb? And I said, no, I think I'm, at that time, I'm where I need to be. I'm able to handle things, and I'm able to actually think. Do I have, hope for the future? I wouldn't really say I do, but at least I'm not like depressed, and like I can still function, and, I can kind of start to process some of the things that are kind of happening.
And how's your moon doing?
My moon is doing really well. Yes, he's very nice. He's a nice moon.
But did he see the effect? We're talking about her husband. Not to be confused with our moon cycle either, because we talk about moon cycles too. But like right away, did you see him reflecting back?
Not right away. It took time. Yeah. It takes time. Took time.
Yeah.
Took a long time. But that's okay. I think that was just the process. And so it's just so interesting that just thinking about it in, having that ability to go on it, and then being able to process, and then having those conversations, and being able to like be the sun again. Right. I wasn't super shiny like I normally am, but I was able to like just burn a little bit brighter. Yeah. Just burn a little bit brighter. Jen.
That's our hook.
No, but that is also a little bit of an Easter egg for those people, that I am starting a new and exciting business, and it's all about that. So, but we'll get into that when it's time.
Just let me know when we cut it out or not.
No.
Okay.
Keep that in.
Keep that in.
I'm excited about that.
So
I will. Can I also just share one thing?
Yeah.
So I'll never forget what I was 6. I think I was 6 weeks in, and see, now I'm gonna cry. Fuck.
It's a big thing.
Somebody that worked with my husband that I knew passed away, and I went to his funeral. Now I can cry, but I couldn't cry at his funeral. That's crazy. Not being able to express, like, it was absolutely wild to me. There I am, feeling very sad, obviously, experiencing those things, but like in my head and not really necessarily in my body and emotions. And it's like I wanted to cry, but I couldn't cry. It's a very weird feeling. The other thing that was interesting is experiencing the habits of just how you go about life, and the brain and body connection. And this is something that we talked about a lot, Jen, is I noticed that I operate with both. We do. But on this medication, I was able to separate both. Or not necessarily separate. I was able to notice the brain and not feel the body. Right. So with that, like things
Could you
like
feel the body, or there was no feeling?
it's like what happens is it tries to, it goes there and then it gets shut back down. So that's what's so interesting. It's like coming, it's like you can feel it, and it's like, no, just kidding. So it's like you're, you know how when you're just about to start to cry, but then it goes away. And like, oh, maybe this is how men feel. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
I think you can shut it down.
Yes.
I learned.
Yes.
I learned.
Yes.
I learned how to shut it down, but I think that that's not healthy either. I
No.
think that it goes against, like, whenever we go against the natural functions, I guess there's a better word for it. Whenever we go and processes of the human body is amazing. When we start to go against those, I think that it can be very detrimental to our health long term, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I will say it was interesting because my daughter was playing at a concert. It was her first time on stage, playing guitar. And I'm very like, I can get some vocal, and I'm like, woohoo! And I'm like screaming. And it was funny because we were at this event, and I remember doing the woohoo. And normally it's a visceral response for me. I'm excited. That's why I'm like, woohoo! But I did the woohoo with no, it was in my brain to do it. It wasn't the body. It was me going, I should really woohoo. I should woohoo now. Now's the time to woohoo. It was so weird. And I left that going, huh. I didn't feel, I had no urge to participate in that. So it's so that numbing was, and I operated out of habit in just how, like, the habit piece. And that's just what you do. That's just what I did. And then I was like, but I had no response or anything. So that's an interesting thing to think about, because it's like how that changes your personality, right? And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to lose that part of myself, right? I don't want to lose those things with me.
Use the things that make
and you. That's what I found happened to me over time, to a point where I was like, hey, I am now at a point where I'm recognizing that I'm no longer myself. And then
you're just a robot.
I'm just a robot. And those are some of the things where, like, that's when the decision for me to be like, okay, I think I've processed some of these other things, enough. I've come to terms with some of these other things. And now it comes to a point where I really needed, for me, and I felt in that moment, I needed that medication to get me through that. And I was numbing I was numbing the sadness and the anxiety and the depression, all the negative things. And because they were so large, and they were already bigger than the happiness and the joy and all the good things at that time. And so the medication really started to dampen those things down. But then it got to a point where, but I was feeling zero joy. Like,
I just wrote down dopamine. Like,
yes. And we can talk about the dopamine, what I was trying to do to get the dopamine. So then what was happening was I was chasing dopamine.
Because you had no joy.
I had zero joy. And so then I started to try and chase dopamine. So one of the things I love coffee, became a coffee addict. And I was telling my doctor this, like,
I could have been a lot worse. Just saying.
I know, right?
And I think this is important, because I think for a lot of people, it does get worse where you're chasing dopamine. And then you start to get these other addictions, whether it be whatever, gambling, drugs, whatever, right? It can be a lot worse than coffee.
Yes.
And that's something that
coffee and sugar, because I put sugar in my coffee. There's the two things that I will say. Anyway, but I love this.
Food is a massive dopamine. Like massive weight gain or unhealthy habits.
Yes. So for me, what I found is that, like, I was trying to chase that. So the feeling, but also even the energy, because I found that I was exhausted all of the time.
Still.
On the medication, yes.
Yeah. More exhausted than you were before?
Yes. I wouldn't say more. I would just say about the same.
Okay.
Yeah. I was.
It wasn't changing the exhaustion, but really it was helping you. It was just, you were numb. So that you could process some of the other stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get you out of the strong emotional feelings.
Yeah.
like almost just emotionally removing yourself from the situation.
Yes. Yes. And I felt like, I mean, I had to be too. I think that was a good thing to do and get out of it for a bit, take a break, right? Was able to process it a little bit. I think we'll talk about that too. Again, it's always hard because we're speaking so vague and there's, all the details that are being missed here. And maybe I think like in 5 years when I can share more and listen back here, I think it'll be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this chasing the dopamine was so interesting. And I watched a podcast, with the Diary of a CEO. Did I send you that one, Jen?
And You've talked about it.
I've talked about it so many times because it's so good. And I learned so much about dopamine. It's an expert in neuroscience or whatever. I can't remember what she was exactly, but explained how dopamine worked and addictions worked and in different people. And I was like, wait a minute, this is my coffee. This is my problem because I'm chasing that. And I learned about the brain chemistry. And what was fascinating to me is like, I could drink an obscene amount of coffee, like fully caffeinated, like obscene. And then I'd put sugar in my coffee and I'd be trying to use that to like perk me up. And I mean, I had used that in the past too. That is an ADHD thing as well. You'll find that they'll use caffeine to stimulate and get the in fact, my daughter's psychiatrist even recommended that prior to going on medication. Anyway, very interesting, right? It's like try coffee. Try coffee. But so I was obsessed with coffee and thought it was very interesting that like I didn't have any, like it didn't affect my sleep really, like from what I could tell. And I was like, this is so interesting. And then coming off of the medication, that's where noticing how much the medication was affecting that was completely blocking the cough, like any feeling from that, from the coffee or the sugar. Absolutely.
Interesting.
Because the minute I started to go down and titrate down off my medication, I was starting to become incredibly sensitive to the coffee, incredibly sensitive to caffeine. It was all of a sudden I could really feel the anxiety coming back. And it was like, I was totally fine. And then it was like the minute that caffeine started to hit, because I was again used to like an obscene amount of caffeine in like in one sitting, and coming off the medication that there was like literally 2 weeks in, one day I was just like, my chest was just like, and it could recover. Like it was just that like where you can't breathe. And I'm like, okay, but like, I'm fine. Like I'm not anxious.
What changed here?
And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the caffeine. So then I looked at the coffee, how like your body and just like, I looked and I was like, oh, do I want a coffee? I'm like, heck no, I do not want a coffee. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so weird. And then the next morning I was like, Kate, no, I'm going to like not have this or like I knew I had to because I probably experienced withdrawals.
Yeah.
If you've ever,
you're going to have a migraine.
I'm going to have a migraine. I'm like, I have to have some coffee, but I cannot do what I did yesterday. I had 2 cups. That was what did it. 2 cups in a row. Like, that's not a big deal for me. And my husband was like, what are you, a noob? Like, yeah, I'm a noob. No, and so the next day I was like, okay, I just got to like half this. Right. And then that's all I did. And then I was like, okay, yeah, like this is, so now I'm really noticing that. And I'm very thankful, like I say, about knowing like what it feels like to not have anxiety, because now I know what that feels like. So then I know, and I have the hindsight, like the foresight now to say, okay, when I drink this coffee, I'm feeling this in my body. That is the same as the anxiety. Why am I doing this why am I creating this for myself? Right?
What's causing it?
Right?
Yes.
Or exacerbating it. Like I often find, and people will say that, and it's like, okay, well, slow down on the coffee, because I think it can really, exacerbate it. So even if there's like a little bit of anxiety, it can just make it that much worse.
Yeah.
Right. And, so, and then I've just kind of shifted and changed my brain on a few things, which I do have the luxury of doing. And one of those things was, I don't know, Jen, if I told you this, I watched a video where there's a professor who, did I tell you this?
No.
Where he asked every single student that walked into his class. I didn't tell you this?
No, maybe you did.
This is good. I love it. And he asked each one as they came into their class, and like in the order of when they came into the class as well, like how early they were or how late they were to the class. And as they came in, he asked them if they drank coffee. And every single person that, so the first, like the people that were early, none of them drank coffee. Like the first half of the class that came in, they were like, no. And as it was so fascinating. This was just a social experiment he was doing, but he had noticed this. And the people that were late to class were the chronic coffee drinkers.
Really?
And they were like, you know how they come in all disheveled?
Yeah.
Like, you can just picture it, right? Yeah. Just like, oh, I got so much to do. They got their coffee and their, and my husband's like, well, it's because they were waiting in line at the Starbucks or whatever. But no, that was the case. It was, and he was asking them questions like, how many do you have a day? When do you have it? All this. It was just very interesting. And the later that they were, the more coffee they were drinking, the more like stressed out they were. It was just comical. But the one guy this one kid, because I asked him, said, well, what do you do if you're tired? And it's like, you have a midday slump. What's your pick me up? And he's like, I take a nap. And I'm like, yes. Right. Let's take a nap. I'm like, because what I would do is if I'm because I'll push through, like, we're talking, I was used to 16-hour days, full brain days.
Yeah.
I can't do that now.
It's not.
I'm like at 6 hours
No
now.
one should be doing that.
I know.
Let's just clarify that. I can't do that now.
I can't do it
No
now.
one should be doing
that. But I used to do that. Like,
yeah. We're not built to do that as humans.
No, and that's what screwed me. But
or as women.
Or yes. Like brain. And so I'd hit so then it became like, because it was, used to these 16-hour days of that, and then you're burning out, and then you're doing your like 8-hour days, and then you're like, okay, reaching for more coffee to stimulate the brain, right?
And then if you stop those 16-hour days and you had like a 4-hour day or something, and you're like, and you had some free time just because maybe you did.
Yeah.
Did you feel guilty or feel like you needed to stimulate yourself because you had to be doing more? So then you're going to find more projects to do because you're like, I still have 8 hours that I have to put in today.
There's like all of these different things that happen, especially when you're working for yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
I think even when you're not, like I was like that,
even at Adam and me,
I was like,
that's
a lot
true.
of the same characteristics. I think that's like,
that's a bit deeper
character thing.
It is a character thing. It's a big deeper thing. I mean, that is something like a lot of women experience too.
But I was a woman in a man's world, and I was proving myself in a man's world. Yeah. And that is a very big masculine cycle doing that. Women trying to fit in business. What does it do when we do it? It makes us tired and burnt out and super fucked up. What does it do for men? They can do that in their day. And they can do it every day and wake up and they can keep doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, to a certain extent. But women, we can't. And so then that cycle, again, is what makes us feel like shit.
Yeah.
I have better term.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
real scientific. Makes us feel like dog shit.
Okay, what were we talking about before that? Oh, the coffee. Okay, the nap. So the nap.
Yes.
And this is the thing. So it's like, I've always been like, I'm a napper. I love naps. I love naps. I love naps. I love my trainer, and I were just talking, shout out to Ashley. She was like, you know what? She's like, I'm a sleepy girl too. She's like, Brandi, it's okay to be a sleepy girl. And I'm like, I know, I'm coming to terms with this. I'm okay with it. And really, it's like, I'm actually probably like not. I'm so intense and I use my brain, same as you. Like, and you know what? I'm tired. I need a break. I'm going to take a nap.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, instead of reaching for the coffee, so these are some of the things like that I'm like doing now. I'm like, even like 20, 30, just like shut her off. Like just, and I mean, research.
And put your phone down too.
Put the phone down.
You can't lay on the couch and scroll.
That's not napping. So I'm like, I'm napping. Yeah. Right. And so I was like, yes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to nap. Anyway, that's been good. I'm excited about that. But again, like I say, I have the luxury to do that because I do, work for myself, and I have all
do it in Japan or China or something.
There's all these places that
they do it
this.
In Mexico. When we were in Italy, our boat pulled up at like 1:00 in the afternoon. We were all off the boat at 2:00. Everything was closed, locked up. We were like, "The people live here?" And they're like, "Oh, it's It's 2. Everything opens back up at 4. From 2 to 4 closes. Our Western society is messed up. And it goes, so this also having it happen in the afternoon, yes, for civilization is a good, I think so. But it is also a very feminine energy thing. And we feel guilty because, again, we're trying to fit this work life into this masculine cycle. I started learning to embrace the nap when my babies were babies, right? I had enough energy in the morning. When they napped in the morning, I worked, especially Arlo the second time around, we learned so much. And then in the afternoon, I would be unavailable from 3 o'clock until like 5.
Yeah.
And I would have to nap.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Felt so good.
Yeah. And with the kids, I did the same thing. I definitely did that. And then, but so now it's like, okay, we got to take this in, and this is like a productivity hack for just, life. Who knew? Who knew? But no, instead I'm crushing.
Ancestors are rolling over in the grave.
Yeah. We've been trying to tell you for centuries.
No, since the Industrial Revolution. We've been trying to tell you for 100 years.
Yeah. But no, I'm like, there I am crushing coffee, trying to just push out more, push out more, right? Anyway, so that's a big realization, blessing that I now have, and thankful for that. So, but coming off of this medication, so I'm now officially about 11 or 12 days, 11, off completely off. And so it's taken me a while to come down. I went and saw my doctor, and I said, it's time. And she's like, okay, like, how do you know? And I'm like, I'm ready. I don't feel like me anymore. I want to feel joy. And, these are the things, and that's what's been so interesting too, is like, even within the first couple of weeks of just coming down off the medication, like I actually started to kind of like laugh and like be silly again. Like I'm a really silly person. Like I'm really silly. I do silly things. I say silly things. I laugh at my own jokes all the time. I think I'm the funniest human on the planet.
As you should.
And I was like, and then it just
I'm the funniest person on that.
But then when it's funny, I'm spitting. But then it's like, there I was, like, just like, a couple weeks in, and I'm like laughing at something, and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm laughing. And then I started crying. And I'm just like, oh my God, yes. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? And I'm like, okay. What also is a huge blessing is that now I can like really like enjoy that.
Yeah.
Like more so than ever. And then not only that, you know what else I really enjoy? I love crying. I'm like, oh my God, like I love, now I can appreciate that too. Like I'm like, have such a deep appreciation to be sad and to be happy and to be everything in between, because I haven't felt it for so long. And then part of where I'm at too is now in this like journey of where I'm at is I am spitting mad. I am angry. I am mad, to bring this full circle of, welcome to the club. I am spitting mad because all of these people are going through life, and because of so many reasons, again, especially women, and we can get into theorizing why. Well, we've already talked about why a little bit, because here we are trying to fit in to this patriarchal world and all these other things, that all the beliefs and everything that's coming down on us.
And it's not like you can just stop.
No.
It's not like you can just have your husband working.
No.
Like you have to figure out.
Yes.
It has to be rewritten, because
it has to be rewritten. And that's why I'm mad, is that because instead of doing the work of rewriting it individually, yes, but also societally and collectively, instead of like, okay, let's fix the problem, let's just medicate you. You know what I like? So we talked a lot about this, and I'm, again, that's okay. Like, we're not here to judge at all. I have such a different, like, I'm in this, I'm mad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mad that women get to a point, we get stomped on to a point where this is our only option.
Right.
Or we feel is our only option.
We feel is our only option. I think
Yeah.
is key.
Yeah.
So this is a really unique conversation because you guys know my story, and I remember listening back to the edits of episode 2 where I talked about my dad, and I said I went to my Chinese medicine doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and I said thinking I needed antidepressants or for antidepressants.
You went in there asking for the antidepressants.
I didn't go into her because I knew that they weren't coming from her.
Yeah, yeah.
But I went in
with that
in there
angle,
thinking I was like couldn't breathe again, chest, all of those things. What I didn't say in that episode, it wasn't in there, so I would have put it in, is that I chose to not go on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I chose to not take a pill. And I chose
to not. That up, or
so
what happened?
I chose to not take the chemicals. So I am very crunchy. I'm a very crunchy mom.
Mm-hmm.
As you're talking, I think that there are many things that are messed up with this whole thing. Number one is I think that we don't know as a society that our doctors are there to, they're not there to look at your diet first. Mm-hmm. They are not trained in nutrition. I think that our society has done us very wrong in creating fake food.
Yeah.
Putting things in that we ingest, even things that we think are healthy, they are not. They are full of chemicals. Spraying things on our crops. What that does to us in our bodies. We are humans and we eat more chemicals. We are surrounded by more chemicals, and we've done this over time. And we start to create things. And so I believe that if we don't look at our diet, number one, and if your doctor does not say, what's your diet like? Because it's more than just coffee. But your response to the coffee is, it can be dairy. Dairy can make you wackadoo. Mm-hmm. Gluten can make you wackadoo. Red dye all the food dyes will bring out a different personality trait. So what are we eating? And you know what? There's yellow dye in pickles. Yeah. Did you know that? To find a tomato sauce or even to find a jam. Like, I don't eat jam. My daughter likes jam. Mm-hmm. To find a jam that does not have red dye in it, it's the French stuff that is imported from France. Mm-hmm. And it has a shitload of sugar. Yeah. Whether you're looking at your stevia, your aspartame, all of this does the same thing to our insulin. That's what's messed up. So bring in the fact that we're already messed up. And how many women are in your 35s? I truly want to know if you're listening and you have felt these, but you didn't feel it before and that's why I asked if you felt like this in your 20s and 30s. Once you get to 35, and you're starting to enter this perimenopause. Perimenopause means before menopause. Menopause is one day. Yeah. Menopause is the day that your cycle stops as a woman.
Well, and isn't that like basically a year after your cycle stops?
It is a moment. It is one moment in time. It is the day.
Isn't it like a year? Well, that's classified like you're out of it. You're like you've passed menopause.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So perimenopause before that day it stops. And perimenopause, think of your poor 12-year-old daughters that are out there going through puberty. We talk about puberty. Perimenopause is the same, if not worse, hormonally than going through puberty. So that's why I wonder, all of these changes, is it, welcome to the club, is this just normal that we go through? And my biggest question is why? If we didn't have all the chemicals in our food, if we ate the cleanest of all clean, if we didn't breathe in all of the fragrances and have the little candles and the, essential oils that we're smelling in every day, if we didn't have all of this surrounding us, if we weren't trying to fit a round peg, a square peg, we're trying to fit a round peg into a round hole, a square peg into a round hole as far as work goes.
Yeah.
And all of these other things that we're trying to do, if we didn't have that, what is the body's natural process here and why? Because every process in the body is there for a reason and a purpose.
Yes.
And it is there to keep your meat suit, our bones, this vehicle that we're in on this planet, alive and moving.
Yeah.
So I didn't go on she said to me, I went in there, I was in full anxiety and panic attack that day. And I wanted something to make it better. Like I said, all of the symptoms are the same. But I'd started working with her 6 or 8 months prior to this. When I started working with her, I was losing. There were a lot of reasons that I went to her. Like I was actually gaining weight, but I lost a ton of weight after my dad. Well, my dad was dying. Let's say.
Yes.
And when I go through hard things, I tend to do that. I get really regimented and very strict with things. So I was, it made sense that I was gaining some weight, and I didn't feel like, I felt like I was losing my ambition. I felt like I didn't know my purpose. And that was, it was scary.
Yes.
But it wasn't, that moment when I went in is the same as what you were talking about. It's almost the same story. I could not see 3 inches in front of my face. And that's what terrified me, is it hadn't gone away. It wasn't getting better. And now I was closing my business. And I had just been on my second shamanic journey, which was amazing too. And I had more clarity. So I was working through it already. I already had those things in place to start to work through it. I was working with a coach too, the same coach that you worked with. And God bless him. He was trying to help, but I was so burnt out. And as a coach, I couldn't even imagine, as someone who, I can see this in people, like, I don't need advice. I don't need another task or an exercise to do. I couldn't. And so when you're looking at human growth and development, so I was going back to my Bob Proctor things. And I'm like, if you just do these things and use these tools, you'll pull yourself out of it. I know what to do, but it wasn't fucking working. And months went by, and that's where it got scary. It would always turn around. It's always
what turned around for you?
Yeah. Good question.
Good
Fucking question.
Did it? Or was there a catalyst? Was there something in particular?
Yeah. For me, I've been thinking about this a lot, because again, if I got cancer, I don't think I would do chemo or radiation. I just saw what it did to my dad. I feel like that's what killed him. I would probably go to Mexico. I have so many healthy resources and tools, but it's not the easy way out. And I was thinking about this before, when you get to that point where you're so broken and you just want that Band-Aid. I think that Dr. Krista, this is who I was working with. I've talked about her before, or on my Instagram a lot. She had already worked with me for 8 months. So she already knew who I was when I was more clear. And I think because of that relationship, she said, Jen, you can look at that, but you will not want to do it. I know you, she said, and I know that you won't like it. I know you'll hate it. And not to mention the side effects, which I don't even know the side effects. I just remember her saying, I know you, and you're not going to want to do it. And I can't remember if I left there and she said, I know you're going to get through it. I remember feeling at that point that all I wanted was someone to say, you're going to be okay. I didn't need another fucking thing to do. I didn't want someone to give me a solution. I really wanted a cheerleader.
Yeah.
And someone to just say, everyone said it sucks and you're going to get through it. I'm like, I know it sucks. I know I'm going to get through it, but like, I don't know. I don't have no idea how. And I think really just that trust in that it was going to happen. So what happened was, I can't remember if I just tripled my magnesium dose. No, I don't know. Like I'm always on supplements. So I don't know if I did more or not.
You know what? It's interesting if you think about it, because maybe it is just in that her saying, so then it was like there was no other option.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
that was the, like, that's it.
Yeah.
And so that was it. And so then it's like, okay, there is no other option. So it's like, there's almost relief in that, is I guess what I'm saying. Was there relief in it?
If someone would have said you should go on this, I don't know if I would have.
I think more,
either.
I think it's not, no, what I'm saying
If someone's
is,
saying no.
no, and what I'm saying is it was her, acknowledging who you were.
Yeah.
And saying, you know what, Jen, like, giving you the option, you can do this, but I don't, knowing you and who you are, and that you can get through, like, it is that support and that, like, knowing it was like, you've got this. And like, even just her acknowledging your struggle.
Yeah. I don't know exactly.
Like, I don't know what it would have been. I don't know either.
I don't know if it was just that, but yes, it's what I remember. It's what you remember. A very broken time.
It's what you remember.
Right. And that to me was a very big thing.
I think it's big.
Also because like I go to my GP when, I mean, I just don't. Like whenever I go to my GP, they're like, well, who have you been seeing lately? I'm like, no one. Like, I'm going to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
I go to the doctor. I believe Western medicine is very important for saving lives. I believe if you're dying or to like get to know, to see like doing even like to look for a cancer diagnosis or something. I don't even know if I would go to my GP. I'd probably do something private. Anyway.
But you've been through this, so you have.
Yeah. So I know. I do think we focused in on, I don't know if I focused in on my diet, but we were already working on that. And I already knew, I was already hyper aware that if I ate bread, I would feel like shit.
Yes.
And if I ate sugar, there was zero sleeping at night. If I drank a glass of wine, I had hot sweats and I couldn't sleep at night. And I knew that if I couldn't sleep at night, I would wake up and I would have panic attacks and anxiety attacks. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and have a panic attack. So alcohol was not I already knew all of this.
All these
but
things.
But this is like, again, I've been starting off as a fitness instructor in my early 20s. I was already surrounded by all of this, the nutrition and the natural and eating clean and all those types of things, right?
I also think that those little things, you're starting to learn those triggers. Okay. So then you're not doing it. So it's a lot of, and then especially when you're talking about diet, nutrition, and if you're really dialing that in, you know, it takes time. That's the long road. It's not an overnight fix.
Exactly.
And it's not an overnight fix.
And it entails feeling every fucking thing.
It is.
And I cried.
Yes.
And I cried. And I fucking cried.
Yeah.
And I.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like, that's why I'm also mad. Because there's no space to cry. Like, we don't have the space. We don't have the time to cry. We don't have the time to grieve. Like for me, what I was going through was grief, grief and betrayal.
Yeah.
For me, with my business, grief and betrayal. And so an identity and a lot of things that I had to wrestle with. But I also had to continue on with my day every day as a mom and work and do this and do that and try to figure it out. And all I wanted to do was not do any of that and just cry. But guess what? I can't do that. So that's what pisses me off, because it's like, okay, maybe, you know, what it is instead is time and space and taking care of ourselves. Like you say, diet, sleep, all these things. These are things that now I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, I was always doing a lot of other things, but now I've just added on to that.
But I think you need these things to rock you out of that pattern, because it was me coming to the conclusion and basically starting and going through the actions of doing the thing that I was the most afraid of, is having my business fail and close it down.
Yeah.
That was the most terrifying thing. And having to go through it, like, you're feeling all the things, you're feeling the shame, you're feeling the guilt. Nick was amazing. Like, he, you know, there's so many times where you don't feel like your relationship is really that good. Like, I think, like, just as a society, we're like, oh, you know, how's the marriage? We're fine. Like, you got through this thing. We've been together for like almost, 12 years. And we knew each other for a long time before that. And you just get to this point where, you know, your relationship is just this like straight line.
Yes.
And in that moment, our straight line relationship was the best fucking thing ever. Because I felt so much love for him. I felt so much love for our kids. I like threw so much more into being a mom in the last year.
Yes.
And like stepping into that nurturing side as I pulled back from, being a man and, getting that $10 million a year. And that I think was the most authentic I have felt.
I agree with you.
And it also allowed Nick to step into his role as the masculine patriarch of this family, really, to keep us all together. Very few times in our relationship has he been the one that holds it all together. Not because he's not capable, it's because I'm a fucking bull.
Yeah.
In a china shop, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a big personality. And I needed him. And it was almost like this scoop up and just told me. And it was like that, when dad was sick and we were going through that, and he was just this solid, amazing human being in my life. And I could feel that too. So I can't imagine not feeling it.
Yeah.
Right?
Not feeling that. Yeah.
And it's not easy. It's so hard. It was so hard. And it took a long time. Like, a long time.
It does take a long time.
Yeah. So to choose to feel, I think, and feel through it, again, I'm so grateful that I've had so many of these tools. Was it easy? Fuck no. But I have so much clarity now.
Yeah.
And I think now that you're able to feel it too, now you can
yes.
We're both sitting here crying in my love seats in the middle of my living room at 3:00 in the afternoon on Tuesday. But this has been too, that this is why this is real and this is why it's important. And I think that we have these expectations on how we're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
And social media doesn't help at all.
No.
Even, listening to other podcasts sometimes doesn't help. The amount of information that is out there for us to listen to can be so confusing.
Yeah.
And it can put you in this tailspin where you feel like you have to be a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So with the club.
Yeah, I think it takes time. And I think it takes a real desire to do the hard work, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's like I'm still doing hard work. Even though I was on medication, I was still doing hard work. But also it kind of made my life harder in other ways, because then it threw me for a loop because I was no longer myself, and things that I had to learn how to deal with.
You also have the awareness to do that because you've done and I truly believe that there are no right and wrong decisions. I believe that it just is. I just believe that it doesn't matter what you choose. It's what you're supposed to go through at that point in time for this life experience.
Yeah.
So by you experiencing that, by you experiencing this massively traumatic thing that changed you, or that led you to go to your doctor, that led you down this path of not feeling, but more awareness. It just had to happen then. Yeah. So this can happen now.
This can happen now. More awareness is key. I think it's huge. I think one of the things that I've really I have a lot of great people around me. I have lots of support around me. But I think what I've really recognized is that I think I do need to probably open up more, to those people, to the right people, more and more and more and more and more, and rely on them more.
Yeah.
Because that's something that I have learned because I wasn't doing that. I was keeping it all inside.
Oh yeah. I would wonder about you.
Yeah.
And then
I don't share that. I don't share it. I don't share it.
Yeah.
Where I am now.
And opposite of me, because I fully share. Like I am an open book. I'm an external processor. I'm not an internal processor. The club.
Can we get back to the club?
I want to talk about the club
because
you want to talk about the club. What if we're supposed to be in a club where we all feel this? What if, you hit 35 and 40, and what if we're not supposed to be on chemicals that will change the makeup of our body and change how we feel? What if instead we're supposed to be, think of it as like a tribe, and we're just supposed to be these middle-aged women who are stepping into this phase of life, and we don't try and change how we feel. We're just together in this, and that's what the club is supposed to be. What if what if we get more anxiety when we're in this stage of life? What if it's just normal? What if this is feeling normal?
It is. Yeah.
What if, feeling pressure in your chest because your hormones are super messed up?
Yeah.
What if that's part of it? And this is what makes me angry, is that we don't allow ourselves to go through the natural processes because we're set up to fail, like I said. And is there any hiding from it? Can we hide from it? What if there was one ingredient that's in all of our food? And that makes heart palpitations and anxiety increase, but we just don't know it yet. You know what I mean? What if so if we can't do anything about changing that, all we can do is control what we can control. So I try and eat fairly clean. I'm not perfect. Again, I will say I'm quite crunchy, but I'm the first person to pop a handful of Advil if my neck hurts and I have a migraine or I worked out too hard, because I hate having a headache.
Yeah.
Okay, so grain of salt. Yeah. But what if we're supposed to be in this group where we feel this through these years?
Yes.
And I can't wait. I want to talk to people who have come out on the other side and see how they feel. I don't understand female hormones on the other side.
And
what does that look like?
And that's the other thing too, Jen, is okay, so life events, age, hormones, all these things. And oftentimes I'm stuck going, what is this? Is this perimenopause, or is this my life right now? Or is this the big event? Or is this what is all of this? I used to be able to handle all this, and now, and it's all came at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's where it's been difficult for me. It's where am I in this journey? And I'm for sure, I feel there's the perimenopause. Maybe this event really kickstarted that too. They say that too, just the stress and obviously the fight or flight for so long, right? And then you have hormones, and then I'm just all over the place. I know for me, some of the things that I'm doing now, high protein, as they say, no sugar. These are diet. These are caffeine. My caffeine. So these are things that I'm really working on right now. Sleep. I mean, makes me laugh. I gotta tell you a story about sleep. So I've been a real shit show with my sleep lately. Part of that just being with the medication. I used to be a person where falling asleep was never my issue. It was just always waking up early, but I usually was able to fall asleep and sleep like a rock. And then, 7.5 hours, typically on a weekday. It was just was my routine. And then I'd be up early. So if I went to bed at 9, I'd be up at 4:30. I know people are Brandi's crazy, but I'm an early riser. But I felt great. It was good. I was happy. Now with this whole medication thing, I'm struggling with my sleep, up early, can't get to bed, can't sleep. I'm up in the middle of the night, all that kind of stuff. And, they do say, research says sleep's the number one thing, hormone balancing, all the stuff. But it's always so funny because they're control your sleep, get to sleep, go to sleep. I'm how? I can't, how? I'm trying. But it was cute because this one guy I watched this video, and he's okay. So he's don't go pee. And I'm okay, well, we'll see. Sometimes you know how you're wake up, you're do I have to pee or do I have to pee? If you don't have to really, if you just go to sleep. But he was count. He's count. He's the minute you wake up, he was talking about body temperature and all of that too, which that's why you typically wake up if there's a body temperature thing that happens when you're sleeping. But he's just start counting, because your brain can't go to monkey brain, as he says, if you're focusing on counting. Well, there I am sleeping. This happened that one, the night that it happened. And I wake up and I'm the guy, it's count. And I'm counting. And as I'm counting, I'm also monkey braining, right? And I'm fuck that guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And I'm going,
7, 8.
And I'm just keep going, and my brain's going, it's popping, right? It's going here, it's going there. It's like, what about this and what about that? And like, I'm doing the thing, right? And I'm like, see, it's not working. It's not working, guys. It's not working. 8, 9, 10. Anyway, I woke up in the morning at 30. So I fell asleep and I woke up and I was like,
That's funny.
it worked. Because I was like 29 and I woke up 30. I woke up in the morning at 30, so it worked. So this is like my new hack. It's like counting sheep, but it's like my new little thing that I'm doing. I'm like, okay, just count. 1. No, it's not fucking working. Like I'm the worst. I'm just like telling myself it's not working, and then it's been working. So I wanted to share that because it is work. It is working for me for now, and because I seem to be up often. I'm like, there is a temperature thing that I'm experiencing. I'm hot and cold. I'm a mixture of hot and cold. I don't know how you can be hot and cold at the same time, but that is
related to what you're eating too.
There's a lot of things like the hormones, the cycle,
and coming off
the medication. Yeah. There's so many things. But yeah, I will say what's interesting about coming off this medication and the last 2 weeks with now having like just completely coming off, I'm experiencing an obscene amount of vertigo, lots of vertigo, but that's okay. I'm going to get over it. I'm used to vertigo. Like if that's the one thing that I'm going to get, like I'm one of those people that goes on flights or goes on a boat and then comes back home and I have vertigo for a week. I'm very used to vertigo. Yeah. So, that is my biggest thing, but,
do parasite cleanse.
I should probably do a lot of things.
All the crunchy moms are going to be like,
parasite. Is that the vertigo thing? Is it the parasite?
I mean, there's,
Okay, I probably got 8 million parasites in me. Okay,
so I don't. I like me too. I don't. I like start them and then I'm like, forget. God, with my handful of supplements.
It's I think I did one once, but anyway, I will say that who knows? I just know that what's crazy to me is coming off this medication has been like the side effects, and that was even within the first couple of weeks of coming just like slightly down. It's like, it's like very hyper aware of what is that? Is that the medication? Is that my hormones? Is that what is all of these things? And I'm just kind of going through emotions. And I know that what's crazy to me is like how long this actually is taking. Mm-hmm. But I will say that the patients, like I've learned a lot about patients the last couple of years, and but like that's crazy to me. Like it's like taking like 2 months. It's going to take a long time. And then like if I did a quick Google, it can, for my brain to get back to quote unquote normal, it's like 6 months post medication. Wow. So
that'll be interesting. We'll have to do like follow-up.
We'll have to do a follow-up. Yeah, like in 6 months, where am I? And it's scary. Like I've talked to here's the other thing. I've talked to lots of people about they're too afraid to go off. Yeah. And I also want to say, like, I don't know, don't be like, I'm just like, I'm touching my mic here. I'm just getting excited. I'm getting like
feeling.
I'm so feeling. This is amazing to feel. Like it's amazing. Yeah. And you got to figure out why. You got to figure out what's going on. How do you change? Change can't happen overnight. Mm-hmm. It takes a long time. Like everybody is in a unique situation with why they are on their medication, I think. Right? I think everybody's in a very unique, different situation. And so you have to like really just be committed to like, okay, why?
Yes, I agree with that. Everyone's in a unique situation with their life, but at the same time, no. Like everyone's going through something. Everyone's going through something.
I know, but they have to. But they have to.
And I think that doctors overdiagnose. And I think that's the problem, is that we've been taught that when you feel something's wrong, you go take this step and you go to your doctor, who, again, I love, there is a purpose for doctors. I love doctors. They're amazing. But we've been misled as to what their scope should be.
Yes.
And they'll be the first ones to tell you that they are not taught all these things. They're taught to fix. They're taught to prescribe a pill. They're taught to diagnose. And they're also taught that diagnosis can be wrong. And they can't step outside of that bubble because they have taken an oath and it goes against their code and they don't want to get sued. So they don't go past that either. Mm-hmm. And it's a big thing. And
this is where functional medicine really just
correct. And and holistic, and like, again, I will go to my naturopath or my Chinese medicine doctor,
and you have to be an advocate for your own health, and you have to be your own and researcher.
Yes. So I think we are given, I think going there, that is exactly what they're going to do. They're going to pull up the questions because that's what they're taught to do. And it's an overdiagnosed thing. What if ADHD isn't actually the thing?
Yeah.
What if ADHD is actually normal?
Yes. Oh, 100, it is normal.
No, but what if it's the norm?
That's
what I'm saying. What if it's the norm?
What if it's the norm?
What if someone who doesn't need stimulation or doesn't have stimulation because of all these things, what if that is the irregular and you're dealing with a dopamine deficit? I don't know enough about biology. I didn't take biology, okay? It's just what I've learned.
Well, they say that, but evolutionarily, am I even using that word correctly?
Yes.
The ADHDers, like the classified ADHDers, tend to be like, they were the problem solvers, the creative thinkers, the entrepreneurial types. They were the ones to like, yes. So is that an issue, or is that just a superpower? Right? Like,
we treat it, obviously, if we're going and someone's saying you have ADHD or you're on the spectrum, like, who the fuck labeled it the spectrum? Who labeled ADHD? Who labeled these things? And again,
there is a difference in the brain. Scientifically, there is a difference in the brain.
But there's a difference in my bipolar.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Exactly.
And there's a difference in the way my fingers look and my hands look compared to yours.
Yes, there is a difference.
That's the part that I feel like is that we are numbing people. Why are we numbing? Why are we seeking it out? Why are we taking chemicals? Why are we taking pills instead of just focusing on living life? Why are we continually trying to self-diagnose or have someone else diagnose us with a problem of something that's wrong with us? We spend so much time doing that. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry, including the coaching world.
Yes.
We spend so much time, energy, and effort trying to figure out what's wrong instead of living life and just being like, maybe this is, and that's our society.
And that's what I've done for myself. And that is the entire reason why. Like, so I have a friend, one of my best friends. She's a master's social work, and she's cute because she's for years, she's like never said to me, Brandi, you have ADHD, but she's just always known it. She's just like, and she's always like, well, but Brandi, like, so in recent years where I've been like, maybe, or like having conversations, she's like, well, yeah, duh, I could have told you this 20 years ago. And she's like, but the thing is, Brandi, is that you've set up your whole life around this. You've created your systems. Everything that I've done, is because, but is that, see, this is the thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not wrong. It's just things that I did to make it work for me and my brain and how I work and my everything, my whole being is around that. So, and that's where it's like, even if we come back to like when the doctor asked me that too, it's like, well, yeah, but I've set up systems and processes like my whole, which I have. And I totally recognize that. And
everyone sets up systems and processes for how it works.
That's
like,
exactly.
No different
it's no different. And I agree with you. And that's what I'm saying.
I hate the fucking labels.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying too. Is that I think if we had the opportunity, if everybody had the opportunity, or they do have the opportunity. I'm going to say they do have the opportunity.
Yeah.
They just don't feel like they do. There's other things at play where they don't feel it, and that's where I for me, would really encourage people to dive in and figure that out for themselves. Like, people often, applaud me for all the things that I've done, or the courage and the leaps that I've taken. But honestly, there was no other option or choice for me, because there's just no way my life would have been miserable. I remember the first time, actually, I don't know if I ever told you this, the first time, like, obviously my story at the bank when I was super depressed. And I remember being referred to a therapist, and the first therapist that I saw, she just told me to quit my job. And I said, well, that's not an option. It's like, it was the worst. Like, I was like, I'm never going to see a therapist. Like,
cool. I'm not coming back.
I'm not coming back. Like, I can't just quit my job. That's not a solution. But I was like, screw you. I got to figure out a solution. And I did. I figured out a solution. I took a leap. It was very hard. It was very scary. But guess what? It served me well. And it's not going to, that doesn't mean it's like there's not going to be bumps in the road. Right? It's just, I feel like people don't feel like they have that power.
Yeah, no, they probably
This
don't.
is an interesting turn in this conversation.
It is. Well, I think it's an important one. Like you said, you started off earlier and you said you're angry and you feel that anger. And you have to feel that anger, I think, to feel a passion. I have a group, I was in like a mastermind, kind of just a group of like my Bob Proctor people and my spiritual friends all over the world. And I said something about being an angry human. And the one lady burst out laughing and her head back, she goes, Jen, she's British. I don't know if I'll get this very good. We always knew you were an angry woman or something like that. And she was just like, no shit. And she was the way she said it. I was like, what? And they all just burst out laughing. Like, there's no hiding that. And I was like, oh, no, I don't want to be angry. And I was like, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Because you need contrast. Yes. You can't have joy and passion and this ambition to live and experience life without having the hurt. You cannot know what joy is if you don't know what sadness is.
We're just quoting Inside Out from this.
Inside Out too. There we go. I have to see
Inside Out. Just the first one is my favorite. It's my favorite. But it is. I was actually talking to my trainer this morning about that. The quoting Inside Out, like joy. You cannot have joy without sadness.
You can't have the front of a book without the back of a book.
You can't have it.
You can't have up without down. Yeah. You can't. It's just, that's what it is. Period.
Mm-hmm. Should we talk about one more thing? Did you want to talk about Gabrielle Bernstein?
Yes. So I can't remember which book it was of hers. Maybe like The Universe Has Your Back or something like that. Mm-hmm. But Gabby Bernstein, in one of her books, in the first few chapters, she talks about how she was a spiritual leader. Mm-hmm. If you guys know who Gabby is.
First name basis. Gabby.
Yeah, with Gabs.
With Gabs.
She's great. With Gabby and
B.
Gabby B. Bobby P. Yeah. But in the spiritual, world, like it is where I've learned a lot of what I've learned. But there was this guilt. She said how she had to go on. I can't remember if it was anxiety medication or an antidepressant also. And I think it was after she had baby, I think. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about the shame and the guilt and the imposter syndrome that she felt because she would go and preach all of these human growth and development, but thought leading teachings where what does it say? Like, you are in control of your thoughts, you're in control of your mind, and you can manifest what you put out there. It comes back, but you have to keep your mind tight. Well, yeah, but she was so shameful because she wasn't able to keep her mind right, quote, quote. She wasn't able to keep her mind where it needed to be. And she was having more of these negative thoughts than the positive ones. And I think, and you talked about where you were too, where you're trying to use all these tools and you couldn't get your brain out of it. And I too, I could not get my brain out of it. And I felt the same way because I preach thought, preach it, that you are in control of your own destiny. You are the only problem you will ever have. You are the only solution. And that's what got me thinking that there's more to it. So again, if you're like, postnatal, like what was it? Depression, postnatal depression, is a big thing. And going back to those hormones where even though you know what to do, you just can't. Mm-hmm. So you asked me, and a lot of guilt and shame around that. So I don't have that because I didn't go on it, on the meds. Mm-hmm. I felt guilty that I even felt that way. Yes. Because here I was like trying to show up and share the story on Instagram as this person that everyone thought I was. Mm-hmm. And I was so low. Someone I can't remember did message me after listening to the episode and said, you hit it very well. I had no idea that this was going on. And I was like, yeah, because you see my highlight reel, but you probably didn't notice the 7 to 8 to 10 days that I wasn't on stories or I had no posts when I had nothing to give anyone, nothing to give anyone. Yeah. And you were using every ounce of what you had left to give to your children. because they need you. Like there's nothing left, even for Nick. I would tell him, I'm like, I'm sorry, I have nothing. And I've just spent 4 hours with the kids. I have nothing.
Yes.
I'm empty. And that's why having the conversations is so important.
Yeah.
So you asked what I did to get out of it. I took, like, what I did is I rested. I think that was the biggest thing I did. And to force myself to stop, because you said once, when I give myself space, I just come up with another creative idea. Absolutely same thing. But instead of starting it, I forced myself to stop. And I forced myself to stop doing the Instagram, to stop doing everything. Yeah. I would lay on the couch that's across from us and I would cry and I would look at the roof and I would cry. And I did that many afternoons when I thought I should be doing something, when my body was telling me I needed to be working. It's 12:30 in the afternoon. You have a team at your shop building these. You have clients who have left you messages. You have leads that you need to follow up on. My brain and my body were telling me I need to do things and I couldn't. And I would lay on the couch and just cry. And usually it was about 5 or 10 minutes of bawling. And then I would be like, wow, I feel great. I feel so much better. I'd go on a walk. Thank God for Hobbs. He's been my little emotional support puppy. Yeah. And I would take him on a walk, even shifting that. Or now I know that when I'm feeling like I have so much to do and I need to do it all, I'll exercise, because I also learned that I need to get that energy out of my body. Another thing that I want to talk about too, that I learned at about that same time, it was actually the Friday, or it was the day I was flying out for my shamanic journey with the Journeyman Collective. The second time, I had an amazingly wonderful client of mine do a human design reading for me, a teacup client, and I'm a manifesting generator.
So am I.
Yes, and we've talked about this. And when she read that, she did a full profile reading on everything, and I listened to it on the airplane from Lethbridge to Kelowna, and it changed my life in understanding. So instead of labeling myself as ADHD, which many manifesting generators have ADHD tendencies. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm going to choose this label instead because I align with it more.
Totally.
And not saying a projector can't have ADHD or whatever, but I'm aligning with this because it just gave me this way to accept that how I was normal. I have a lot of ADHD tendencies, but I also don't have a lot of them too. So it's really, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm just going to be me.
Exactly. Me too.
But the human design was a big thing too. And I think understanding more about who you are, the easier it is to work through these things. So knowing that my body needs rest, not feeling guilty about sleeping until 9:30 on a Saturday, which Nick knew I needed. And my kids were old enough I didn't have to get up with them.
You know that scene in Forrest Gump? I always think about this scene.
No Forrest Gump. Well, Jenai.
when he says, Jenai could sleep and sleep, and she just kept sleeping. Yeah, I so resonate with that. I'm like that. You know, like when Jenny, she was just went through it all. Obviously, she went through all the stuff, and she just went there and she felt safe, and she just slept.
She felt safe, exactly.
And that is I feel that just sleep. Just we need to sleep. We need more sleep than we think we need. That is taking care of ourselves, right? Yeah. Interesting you say about the stopping too. Just something that came to me with Gabby Bernstein. I think it was one of her books where she talks about spirit guides, signs, asking your spirit guides for signs. And the funniest thing, this is the funniest thing. This is 2 years ago too. I had asked a question, what was I needed to do next or whatever. And the first thing, it's supposed to be the first thing that to come into your mind. And I'm still I think it was quite literal. It was a stop sign. It was stop. And I was what's this? Stop. And so every time I see a stop sign, stop, I'm and I'm just no, they're telling me to stop. There is no sign. That is the sign.
It is so literal.
It is so literal. It was stop. And I was and that's 2 years ago. Yeah. And do you think I stopped? No. I'm starting to stop.
People will say, I can't stop. I'm like, you have to. They're I don't get it. I'm like, you have to.
It's taken me a long time. And I'm still
if you hadn't gone through all these things that you went through, would you
have stopped? No.
Exactly.
So it is a blessing.
Exactly. It always is.
Yes. Again, give me 5-10 years.
Well, if we're still doing this podcast in 5-10 years, which would be awesome and funny and great, I'm excited to show up like post menopause and be like, oh my God, you guys, it's the best. I'm free.
We're angry. We're pissed. We have a lot of clarity. I think
It
that
sucked.
it has sucked. Absolutely. It has sucked. And I think what I want to know now is those people listening to this episode. I want to hear all the things. I want to hear all the DMs. Send us the voice notes. Comment on our
I won't
posts.
listen to your voice notes probably, but Brandi will.
We'll see.
I'll type that. Typing if you want to talk.
No, we want to hear everything. What resonated with you? What didn't? There's probably a lot more. Let's have these conversations. Who can we also talk to about this? And I know there's a lot of conversations out there about menopause. There's a lot of conversations about anxiety and depression. There's a lot of conversations about anxiety. And I think what we did here a little bit is just kind of touched on the fact that these are all, everything's interconnected and intertwined. The burnout and all that, it's all intertwined. So these are things that we're working through, as you can tell, and we're not perfect, and bring it. And this has sucked, but we're on our way to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you feel like you suck,
you probably do.
It's okay.
That's okay, because we do too. And that's a wrap on episode 11. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today for this real and honest conversation about mental health, medication, and the messy middle we don't talk about enough. Before we wrap, we want to be clear. This conversation is based on our personal experiences and is not medical advice. If you're struggling with your mental health, please reach out for help. Whether it's a trusted friend, a therapist, or a crisis support line, you are never alone. Asking for help is brave, and your life is worth fighting for. Next week on Unsuccessful, we're diving into another important and often avoided topic: alcohol, anxiety, perimenopause, and finding your own version of wellness. We're sitting down with Brandi's amazing friend Shauna, who shares her story of walking away from the social drinking culture, tuning into her mental and physical health, and completely redefining what success looks like in midlife. It's honest, empowering, and packed with wisdom. You won't want to miss it. This is Unsuccessful, the podcast where life might feel like a total dumpster fire, but hey, at least it's your dumpster fire. See you next time.